Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning. And for those listening to us on audio format, happy Monday morning. Hope your week goes well. For those watching us on Facebook Live, thank you for joining us as we do a little bit of baseball brunching, the show before all the games, the Sunday afternoon games start. And we're mostly going to be talking about fantasy baseball today, as that is our shtick. But we hope to entertain and inform along the way, edumacate, do some scouting, baseball scouting statistically, and eyeball testing as we normally like to do around here. Sean, how you doing this morning?
I am great. Glad to be back. Got another jam-packed episode for you guys. Last week we talked a lot about, starting pitching and the injuries that have plagued starting pitching. And it seems like it's really continued into this week. And we tried to move past it, but I felt that we should talk about it since it doesn't seem to end with these injuries.
No, it's constant. It's you know what it is, Sean. Nowadays, it's like if you like starting pitchers, it's getting to the point where they're not even. It seems to me like they're not even counted on to get to 5 innings. Like if you can get like 3 or 4 innings out of these guys, it's a victory. And like wow, it just it's turned fantasy and just baseball in general upside down. But at any rate, we wanted to start the show with the Fantrax League, the Baseball Life Fantrax League. That is a keeper league. It's underway. It's up and running. And you know what? Let me share my screen here, if you don't mind. Let me know if it shows up or not. I know we've had issues with it before showing up on the first try. And for those on the audio-only version of it, I'm literally just showing off the standings in the Baseball Life League. That's being sponsored by Fantrax this year. So thank you for them for
and they hooked us up with premium as well. So shout out to all the guys over there, Eric Cross, Mike Carlin. It was awesome. You guys definitely have customers for life now.
Yeah. For Baseball Life for sure.
Yeah.
From Baseball Life members. Anyway, there's the standings. Sean is dominating as always. Jet Dry is right there with you. I think you guys tied, right?
Yes, he was my one tie.
And for those wondering why there's so many games already played, it's because we're doing what do they call it? A bi-weekly league? Is that
bi-weekly? So we have one period that's 4 days and one period that's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday on weekends.
So yeah, that's why it's like we're already in 8 games in. Felipe's in 3rd place. Let's see. And again, just look at this. 137.5 points for, 60.5 points against. It's not a points league, but I think that they're counting the categories
those are each categories you win each week. So.
And so it's not surprising to see who the top 4 is. Mario Mergola, even though he has a 500 record. Shout out to the parity in our league, but Mario Mergola is in 4th place. And
500 gets you into the playoffs in real life baseball this season, so why not in fantasy?
And so it's not surprising to see like the so-called experts, because I think Jet would call himself an expert, but
and I will say this. After the draft, I was worried for Jet's team. I thought he did not have a great draft. I love you, Jet, but I thought it was not a good draft. And here he is. The joke's on us. He's 6-1-1, same record as me.
Yeah, and but no one can touch you, man. I think that was a fluky tie more than anything. But at this point, you're just running away. I'm just waiting for all the injuries to catch up to you.
I mean, we say this, and if you don't mind pulling up the scoring period or my matchup with Henry last week, because I do think there are some cracks in my team that are starting to show. And that is back-to-back scoring periods, Monday through Thursday, and then this weekend, as you'll see as he pulls it up. My hitting was solid, but Henry's offense was just – Henry whooped me. And
talking about period 8?
Yes. And the main reason I lost against Henry was you mind hitting up summary real fast so we can see the total stats?
Oh, sure.
Yes. And then go all the way down to pitching. Your eyes do not deceive you, people. I had a 13.1 ERA, and that was over 22 innings pitched. And it didn't get much better this weekend. Going into today, my team has a 7.2 ERA after Brandon Bielak got just absolutely shellacked by the Padres last night. So I'm hoping my pitching can kind of stabilize. My offense is solid. I'm not worried about it. But My pitching's starting to crack, and I'm worried.
Yeah, I know that was something that we talked about with your team, that you had a late start to starting pitching because of Henry.
Just the way the draft went.
Henry wants to point out that, hey, I had 2 less players on offense also. So even when he wins, he's using excuses. Oh my God!
Hey, but you had the rate. Hey, maybe having 2 less helped out your ratios because you were. I think you batted like almost 300 or well over 300 in that scoring period.
Yeah, that's the thing about shrinking it to like just a few days instead of a whole week, as you get that variance intact effect in play there. So, but getting back to your team though, you did say you got a late start because you had a horrible time drafting starting pitchers in the draft, but you made up for it on waivers, and now it looks like it's biting you back. So it's a tricky thing to gauge, but. Yeah. Moving on with the standings, so you notice that the top 4 teams are well over, in terms of point differential, are in the positive. Everybody else, I think they're in the negative, like including who's comfortably in first. I forgot.
That I believe is our good friend James Handabode.
Yes,
right here. Let me see if I can pull up his team. There it is.
And then the next guy up is Swolke Jacketani.
That's Whelan.
That's Whelan.
Yeah, Whelan. James is doing pretty well for having a lot of guys that I liked, because I liked his draft originally. He had Yelich, Keston Hiura, and
comfortably
yes, okay. And a lot of these guys that he has are just like struggling so mightily out of the gate. Of course, he has Conforto, for which his team is named after. Solid move, James. But it's just tough for him because most of his big-time hitters like Yelich and whatnot have just struggled so mightily.
Oh, my God. So Henry's he's we'll get to his team, but he's already talking about, I had to drop guys here and add them to the IL. Like, Sean, have you not had any injuries at all?
I will pull it up for you. I had Nick Madrigal go on the IL. Yeah. I have Pomeranz on the IL. He was getting me a lot of holds and saves early on. And I want to say I had 1 or 2 other injuries, but they were guys I had to drop.
Yeah.
I've been relatively lucky so far with injuries.
I had Ken Giles, Hector Neris, Keone Kela as my relief cord when I started the season. And they're all gone now. Noah Syndergaard, Tommy John surgery.
That's always a yikes.
Mike Moustakas, Gleyber Torres over here. Spare me the excuses, man. Come on. You got to adapt.
Andrew Sullivan brings up a good point that his injured pitching is better than his actual pitching right now. He has on the IL of starting pitchers Corey Kluber, Chris Sale, Alex Wood, Sandy Alcantara, and Madison Bumgarner. And I believe the main reason he picked Sale was at this point in the draft, we knew Sale was going to be out for the year. But it being a keeper league, he's still someone that you could contemplate, actually keeping year to year. So he took a bit of a risk there. And then Corey Kluber, lasted all of 1 inning. So he picked up a couple of guys. He's a big Dustin May fan. Picked up Christian Javier for Houston. So I've liked how he's pieced together his rotation. I think it's not as bad as he's making it out to be.
Is he Big Dinger energy?
Yes, he is Big Dinger energy.
Yeah, so he's scrapping and surviving there.
Yeah.
No, I disagree on the whole Chris Sale thing, and it's like you guys can see the writing on the wall that he's been overused. The weird arm angle finally caught up to him. I love as White Sox fans, we always were afraid of Chris Sale's arm just falling off.
Yeah. The way he throws, it's like you expect it.
Yeah, it's like too much torque and bent going on, and God bless him, he survived this long, and he got a World Series championship out of it. But no, man, it's like he's on the wrong side of 30 at this point. There was a lot of warning signs. Same thing with Corey Kluber, and it's like, you reap what you sow, man. You gotta know when to drop. You gotta know when that hill's about to go down on some of these guys. But it is a keeper league, so it might pay off dividends for him. But I just don't see it. I think this is now we're getting to the guys who are sub 500, which is I think this is Jim Graves from Rhode Island.
I believe so.
Yeah. Chick stick the long ball. I think Aaron won the championship last year.
Yes, she won the championship, and I haven't looked at her team, but I want to say she had some injuries last time I looked. Yeah, she's missing both Albies and Donaldson. Those are two big pieces. Still has Mookie Betts and Will Myers, both of them performing very, very well. Her pitching, she lost Charlie Morton and Nick Anderson. Bueller's kind of underperformed. I want to say he was a high pick for her. That was her second overall pick, and he's just kind of been middle of the road so far. But she's hanging in. Like I said, I think everyone will, as long as you can stick around 500, you got a chance in this league.
There's our guy King Henry, King Puti. We just mentioned his team, and he already talked about his excuses and
as he dethroned me.
Hey, you know what? Maybe him beating you this past period is his way of going on the way up. We talk about downhill now. He's going up the hill, but he's always someone I got to look out for because you never know with him. This guy plays in $100 plus fantasy baseball league, so it's like, what kind of maniac plays in $100 plus baseball leagues?
His pitching staff is fantastic and would be much better if he wasn't starting some bum like Masahiro Tanaka. I mean, he has Trevor Bauer, Clayton Kershaw, Dinelson Lamet, three guys who have been three of the best pitchers in the National League. And then he also has Mike Clevenger, but of course, after his whole charade we don't know when he's going to make another start. So.
And I guess I got to point out that he is in a 2-game winning streak. So, hey, like I said, maybe this is the start of something for him. So look out for Henry's team.
It's the start of something new.
This guy. Man, you're chipper this morning. Chipper Jones over here. You're more chipper than Chipper.
Hey.
Jeez, let's change gears a little bit while we finish up with the two worst teams in the league. Have you listened to any of the Chipper Jones calling of the baseball games on ESPN?
I want to say he did the Mets game, or he called in for the Mets game when it was Smoltz and I can't remember who the play-by-play guy was. And he was like, absolutely, it was like through a Zoom call, and he just sounded like so out of it. I don't know.
He doesn't look right there. He looks awkward. He sounds awkward. He sounds like he'd rather be somewhere.
Yeah, it looked like disinterested at best.
That's the thing with former players, man. They just want to play, but when you get them behind the mic, it's not so easy now, is it? You just can't sit back and talk about how we used to do it in the back in the day. I mean, some of them do.
Yeah, I was like, some do.
Some of them do, but Chipper can articulate it that way. I don't understand why. Yeah. I mean, but anyway, it must be a Florida thing. I don't know. Yeah, Henry's right. Oh my God, Chipper's so boring. I mean, that's the way you got to say it. It's so boring with Chipper. Will Ponzi's, who's that guy? That's Andrew O'Sullivan?
That's Jacob. That's Jacob Moses.
Snap. Too many Mets fans in this group.
Yeah, we got all the Mets fans.
Yeah, all the Mets fans. Wow, Jacob. I didn't realize he was that bad. What's wrong with his team?
Let me pull it up. I want to say he whiffed on a big overall pick. He has Baez. Baez is struggling mightily. Manny Machado the same way. Ronald Acuna's, kind of been so coming out of the gate.
And he's injured too, I think.
He has Bryce Harper, who's having a legitimate MVP type year, but just I think the other guys like Baez, Machado are really kind of holding him back. And his pitching is meh. Patrick Corbin, Max Fried, I like both of those guys. And Chris Paddock, I like him. But aside from that, I don't think he has a legitimate closer. Brandon Workman, who just was in the first, real trade of the season, is going to assume that closer's role in Philadelphia. And, of course, as he joined, it was like a rite of passage, like all Philadelphia relief pitchers. He blew his first game, blew the save in his first game. But he has a good enough peripherals and a great curveball that he might be able to, net some saves. But that's really his only legitimate relief pitcher. So that might be what's holding him back in, the holds and saves category.
Well, I hope Jacob's listening this morning because this would be the episode to help him out. You know what? Every episode would help out Jacob's team at this point. And Mike Harvey's team as well. Molina is better than Trout. Well, You piss off the baseball
The
gods.
baseball gods.
This is what happens to you, Mike, out of Eastern Washington, Cardinals fan out of Eastern Washington, as he has struggled mightily to get anything going.
Do you want me to tell you why he's struggling mightily?
Yes, that's the purpose of this segment.
He is a big time Cardinals fan, and I like the Cardinals too. But let me just read you off his starting lineup. Catchers, we don't care about them. They're Martin Maldonado, Max Stassi. This is where it gets interesting. First base, a Cardinal, Paul Goldschmidt. Second base, another Cardinal, Colton Wong. Third base, another Cardinal, Matt Carpenter. And then left field, another Cardinal, Tyler O'Neill. And you're talking about that's like 6 guys, and he has Paul DeYoung on his IL list as he's still recovering from COVID. Wish him the best. He's supposed to be back, I believe, on Monday. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that he expected to be in his starting lineup that didn't play baseball for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
and when you're in a categories league where you need to accumulate these plate appearances and these stats, even if they're doing terrible, at least they're getting you some base hits, some RBIs. When you lose that many guys, it's hard to win games. So he's probably been the player most affected by COVID so far, I'd say, in our fantasy league.
Yeah, man, those homer guys, the guys who only pick their hometown teams, they're the worst, like me with the Mets, you know. But
it's okay. I'll send you a Mets hat one of these days.
No, please don't. I don't want to be confused. No,
maybe a Syndergaard jersey.
There you go. Now you're talking. Hell, at this point, Dominic Smith, J.D. Davis. I love me the Mets players, man. The Mets as a team, I don't like them, but and their colors, they look too much like the Knicks. I don't even know why. Honestly, I don't even know why Yankee fans bother becoming Knicks fans. They should just be Brooklyn Nets fans to match the color scheme a little bit. But that's just me. And that is the standings. Anything surprising you with these 12 teams here, Sean?
Not that I can really say. I just hope I hold on to my lead. I really do.
Well,
because I'm off to such a hot start, and I'm talking a lot of crap in the group chat.
You know, it's like I told the guys.
It's like I
told the guys. You know, this man right here tells you who he's gonna go after, who he's gonna pick up, who he's eyeing, who he's targeting, and he's still dominating. So it's like, yeah. But now we do have a playoff format. This is not like the Spanish Premier League or the English Premier League. In soccer, where it's just a regular season and then you're done for it. No, you still gotta test your luck in the playoffs. So none of this matters at the end. You just gotta keep winning those games. But you're off to a great start as always. Like I mentioned the last time we were talking about our league, you're off to a great start. Then you're still continuing the great start now. I'm picking up steam though, and Jet's right behind you. Margola's gonna Margola. There's another guy you gotta be careful, man, because Margola
especially with this team, he's got Trout, Judge. He's got a fantastic team. I want to say his big thing was his pitching is not healthy. I would have to double check myself though.
Well, shoot, is anybody's pitching healthy?
Yeah. Just like we talked about last week, it's a bit of a crapshoot when it comes to pitching. His number one guy was Flaherty, just like I had in another league, and miss all those starts. Matthew Boyd has absolutely just, shit the bed, and that's 2 big starters for him. And he's gotten by with Luke Weaver and Zach Gallen, both Arizona arms. So that the pitching has been his weakness. And of course he lost Kopech when he opted out. Chapman's been injured for most of the year, so he lost out on a lot of saves there. Craig Kimbrell has an 11 ERA, end of story. So.
And he has a roster alert. What is that? What's his problem? Oh, look at him.
Dun, dun.
You better fix that.
Rule Nazis inbound.
You better fix that Tariq Subal, man.
Yeah. Speaking of, you wanted to talk about one last thing that happened on your team this week, right?
Yeah, I had your team up on the screen here, but then you started talking about Margola's team, so I just wanted to kind of quickly skim by it. Luckily for Margola, he does have 2 reserve spots, but yeah, he needs to change. He got Jason Dominguez. What are these homer picks, man? I had to admire. Like, you can always say, hey, guys, those guys are really good players, so that's why I picked them up. But still, a homer pick, they're going to homer pick. So that's the guy with all the White Sox players on his team. But anyway, let's go back to your team really quick. You are Mad Dog Madrigal, named after second baseman Nick Madrigal. You picked up Joey Bart. Chancisco, which we're going to be talking about these catchers in a little bit. Anything happened out of the ordinary for you this week?
This week was mainly, once again, my starting pitching just crapping out again. But I believe I dropped Brian Reynolds, and then I just added him back. Just when I was ready to give up on him, he goes and he has like 5 hits in 2 games or something like that.
2.82 batting average.
Jose Ramirez is starting to – he's got a really low BABIP, and I'm kind of hoping that's all this is just really bad BABIP luck. I looked into it, and he's exit velo's down a little bit, but expecting batting average is still pretty good.
By stolen bases, though, you can't argue.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting the stolen bases. I'm winning stolen bases just about every week, which when I drafted guys like Jose Ramirez and Trevor Story, that's what I expected. And Kyle Tucker's chipped in 4 as well, which is awesome.
And I'm sorry, this is I can't see because of the thing there, but it's stolen base net. So
yes.
What is it? Stolen base minus caught stealing?
Minus caught stealings, yeah.
You talked about your pitching. Let's go down to your pitching staff. There's John by any means necessary, Frankie Montez, Zach Wheeler, Brandon Bialek, who you just mentioned. I think I just butchered his name, but you just mentioned him earlier. He's not been very good for you then?
He was great his first 4 starts. He only gave up 4 earned runs in his first 21 innings, and then he went and gave up 7 against San Diego. But I can't really fault him because San Diego is just like the hottest offense in baseball right now. So,
all righty. And who else did you want to talk about?
I feel like I'm okay with my pitching right now. I think it just needs. I think it was a bad week. Hopefully it's just a bad week and not a bad 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
A nice pitching staff. I like it.
Yeah, and for how it's gone, Tyler Glasnow, of course, I sat during that 13 ERA week because he was facing the Yankees. I thought that was a terrible matchup for him. For his career, he's been terrible against them. But he actually ended up having the best start. He went 5 2/3, only gave up 2 earned runs and struck out 8. When I had guys like Spencer Turnbull and German Marquez give up like 15 runs combined. So I'm looking to bounce back in pitching this week. That's my goal, is looking at my matchups, and I haven't set my roster for the next scoring period, but looking to make sure I rebound, and I'm going to try and focus on my pitching this week.
All right. Well, everybody's trying to turn their pitching staff around, it seems like. Let's go over to my team really quick. I just have one little tidbit. There I am. Okay. So, yeah, I had to replace Salvador Perez last night as there was an issue with blurred vision with him. And at first I didn't think much of it because the Royals weren't concerned, but I should have taken that more seriously as a fantasy owner because, I mean, it's catcher. You
got to be able to see the ball.
Well, I mean, I guess see ball, hit ball, catch ball, field ball. I guess that's with baseball in general. And this is the ultimate, the eyes are like the most important thing in baseball, right?
Yep.
I guess you could say that about any sport, but more in baseball as, I've heard narratives about how some of these players are so hyper-focused and they can, their eye levels are just higher than any of normal humans. And then you take that away from an elite player, elite catcher like Salvador Perez, and it's like, and it sucks because he was just coming onto his own. He was improving his rate stats. His on-base percentage was going up. His batting average was going up.
Yeah, he was batting like over 300. Well,
yeah. It's not a coincidence that my team started doing well when he started doing well.
He's the team captain. He makes everybody else play better.
Hell yeah, man. And like I said, I am the number 1 Mets fans in this league. I got Dominic Smith.
Dom Smith Stan Squad, shout out.
Jake Cronenworth is in all my fantasy leagues. JD Davis. I'm stuck with JP Crawford because he's my only guy who could steal bases at this point.
Since this might be the only time we get to talk about Jake Cronenworth because we're not really talking about infielders today, would you believe me if I told you that he has the highest, or among that entire Padres infield, he has the highest WOBA and expected WOBA? Really? Well, actually, on the entire team. It's actually higher than Fernando Tatis Jr. He is absolutely spanking the ball. I am kicking myself because I really liked him and I didn't buy in hard enough, and I'm just kicking myself over it.
I didn't know who he was. I think I kind of triggered my memory that he was involved in that trade with the Padres, with the Rays this past offseason. I think that involved Hunter Renfroe. Is that correct?
I believe it was the Pham Renfroe Xavier Edwards deal.
What a deal.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And I just kind of spotted him. And normally I don't go for these 26-year-old prospects, but this guy just kind of called me. I like the fact that he qualified at 2 different positions and that he was going to be the second baseman for the Padres every day. In my other league, in my points league, I gave up. I had to cut Wilmer Flores to get back Jake Cronenworth, and I was kind of sad because.
And it's funny because Flores has just had like a hell of a week, and he's one of the better hitters in baseball right now.
Yeah, in my points league, he's over 30 points, and I'm kind of bummed. Like, man, I wish I had room for him, but they don't guarantee him at bats. And then Cronenworth doing the same thing anyway, so I think I'm in a good spot right now. But no, the thing I wanted to talk about was Christian Pache. Is that how you pronounce his name? Yeah, Christian Pache, right? I wasn't expecting him to be called up this season. I mean, the Braves are just loaded at outfield. They have outfield depth like nobody's business. But then Markakis goes down with COVID, I think.
He was exposed. So they, out of an abundance of caution, which should be the title of the 2020 season, out of an abundance of caution, they put him on the COVID IL, which opened up a spot in the outfield for Christian Pache.
Okay. So this is weird because I thought it was. I got sad when I heard that Markakis might have been exposed or might have gotten it or contracted. I wasn't 100% sure because Markakis was like at the beginning of the season he didn't want to be a part of this season. And then
he had opted out originally.
Yeah. So all right. Well, hopefully he's okay. But in the meantime, Pache, like I said, I was not expecting him to be called up this early, which means I had to bring him up. Mario Margola, take notes. I had to call him up. And I had to find a replacement for one of my minor league slots. We get 5. And what I was jumping for joy when I saw that Christian Robinson was available. Christian Robinson, the outfield 5-tool player from the Diamondbacks. He is considered a 5-tool player, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The arm is, I think, okay. I'd have to – I want to say that's like his little flaws, like the arm. But the plus power, good eye at the plate. The hit tool might be a little swing and missy, kind of like a Joe Adell. He makes really good contact for his age right now, but it's kind of too early to determine if it's a plus hit tool. It is a plus hit tool, but if it's a hit tool that will age well.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Do well against advanced pitching.
But, there's a lot of question marks with him. I know that he was not even in the top 50 about a year or two ago, I forget, when I looked at his name, but I kind of
He exploded last year in, I want to say it wasn't A-ball. If you will cover for me, I'm looking it up. It was either rookie ball or A-ball, and I can't remember which. Yeah, he started off, he was in rookie ball in 18 and then was at low A and A-ball in 2019, played a combined 69 games. That's nice. And he did really well in low A-ball. 319, 407, 558 slash line, which was good for a 171 WRC plus, which is just insane. And then he played 25 games in A-ball and struggled 217, 294, 435 slash line. So he's still only 19, so he was probably, I'd say, 2.5 years younger than his average player at that level. Mm-hmm. So it's good that they're being aggressive with him, but there's still some hesitance about it.
Yeah, and again, he was, as far as I was concerned, he was the best player available to replace Pache in that minor league slot. But I'm excited to have him on the team. We only get 2 more seasons after this one with these minor league players before we have to bid adieu to them because we restart fresh in year 4. But go ahead.
And he was just added to the Diamondback 60-man player pool. So he is going to get some form of development. I don't expect him to be called up at all. But I think this is actually a really good thing for teams' top prospects because they're coming into these alternate sites and playing against major leaguers, former major leaguers. And, my mom was my basketball coach all throughout playing as a kid. And I would have to play with my older brothers, and they'd absolutely whoop me. And she said, guess what? The only way you get better is by playing people that are better than you. Yeah, and I think that is exactly what is going on with some of these prospects. I mean, Jared Kelenic is absolutely tearing it up to the tears of Mets fans. I mean, he's out there hitting bombs against everyone that they throw onto the alternate site mound. So I think it's really good for some of these prospects.
Yeah, but that's why I'm excited. I know that Pache's, I think at one point was considered that player like Christian Robinson, I guess, maybe at one point. But it's so funny, like you bring these players get brought up and their stock immediately goes down, but the next man up on the prospect list, their stock goes up, and now we're talking about them like they're the next big thing. But I'm excited. I wasn't expecting it, but I finally got Christian Robinson on the team. I found a way to get him on. So, and that is the wrap up to this week in the Fantrax Baseball Life Fantasy Baseball League.
Yep. And with you finishing with Pache, I thought it was only right that we bring back my favorite segment so far, which is Rapid Fire Rookies. And if I were to tell you how many players made their major league debut since the last time we spoke, which was the 14th, so not last Friday, but the Friday before that, how many players do you think made their debuts?
This past week?
It last 10 days it's been.
Last 10 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it absolutely blows my mind how many people are making debuts.
I'm going to go with well, you just mentioned this. I'll go with number 69.
Oh, you're close. It was 39. Oh, and, I mean, it was both. We had great hitters that made debuts. We had great pitchers. Right after we spoke on the 15th, I believe was when the Cardinals went back to playing. Of course, they were led back onto the field by their rookie phenom, Dylan Carlson, very much five-tool threat. Christian Pache, as you said, he made his debut just a few days ago. And the Sanchez twins, they're not actually related, but Jesus Sanchez and Sixto Sanchez both made their debuts for Miami earlier this week. Sixto actually pitched yesterday and looked fantastic. He was hitting 100 on corners with sinkers. It's a little frightening. But that Marlins team is not something to mess around with. And then we also saw, some of the high-profile arms in Detroit system make their debuts. Tariq Skubal kind of fluttered around a little bit, but he's definitely the more raw of the prospect compared to 2018 number 1 overall pick Casey Mize. I'm not sure if you watched any of his start. He looked absolutely fantastic. That splitter change that he has, it's absurdly good.
That was a good game.
Yeah, Dane Dunning, for your White Sox fans, Dane Dunning made his debut, showed off a really nice curveball. And then Tristan McKenzie for Cleveland. Oh, yes. He pitched last night, and I can't wait for it. I really do like Tristan McKenzie. I think he has a lot of potential, but I can't wait for all of these teams to blow up their fab money and their free agent bids to try and get Tristan McKenzie. And while I do have good hopes for him, we have to take it with a giant grain of salt that he was facing the Tigers.
I mean, the Sox just swept the Tigers, and Sox fans were celebrating. Here we come. We're going to start climbing up the AL Central standings. I'm like, all right. It's the Tigers.
And then, you had Pache graduate this week, I also had a graduation. And this kind of moves us into our topic of the day, which is going to be catchers. I had Joey Bart graduate. Also, another catcher that graduated this week was Kybert Ruiz. I don't want to mess up his first name. But he looks like he's probably going to be sent back down. Will Smith is slated to start today's game coming off the injured list. But Joey Bart, top overall pick of 2017, I believe, or number 2 pick. Great college bat, got for real pop. Doesn't walk a whole lot, has a little bit of strikeout issues, but his first 3 hits so far this year have all been of the extra base variety. When he makes contact, it's a lot of loud contact, which I really do like with him. And with how thin catching has been, especially in our league, which is a 2-catcher league, I feel like Joey Bart making his debut is going to really help me.
Speaking of which, right here, Joey Bart at the top with, what was it again? A 246 weighted runs created plus. Which
over 7 at-bats.
Yeah. Which makes him, 250% better than league average at this point.
Yeah, essentially. 146%.
Short career. Thank you for that. This is the catching list. This is a list of catchers I made that might be available. So basically what I did, Sean, I'm in a Fantrax league, which is a very deep league. I'm in my keeper points league, which is a very competitive league. I'm also in the newbie league, which I forgot to mention. I just wanted to point out that we do have a newbie league for all the newbie guys there. who've never played fantasy baseball before. I hope they know that we're still playing. I know a handful of people were kind of shocked that it was still going on, but
Yeah, I've checked it occasionally.
no, man, that's part of my wheelhouse, man. After the Fantrax League and the Keeper League, in the CBS League, I go to this newbie league, make sure that I'm on top of my game. And so far, after getting upset in that first period, I've been on a winning streak, so I'm taking that seriously, like I take all my fantasy leagues seriously.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, I see that Isaiah Kiner Falefa is still leading this catching list in stolen bases, but he's not really a catcher.
And yeah, he's not playing catcher at all this year because I wanted to. I noticed something funny with him. He does still have catcher eligibility, but he's been playing mainly third base for them. And he also actually collected a start or appeared later in the game at shortstop for the Rangers. And I wanted to go see if he had started a game at catcher as well, because I wanted to know how many players have started one game at catcher and at least one game at catcher and shortstop in the same season, because I feel like that's not a very long list. But he has not played one game at catcher this year, so.
Yeah, well, I cut him in the newbie league. That's why I kind of wanted to talk about the newbie league. But how are you doing in that newbie league, by the way? Are you whooping these?
No, I'm doing not so great because in the traditional 5x5 leagues, I usually tend to lose in batting average, and my pitching's just kind of so-so. I don't know. I have Winker. I don't know how I feel about that team. That was the one I went all out balls to the walls pitching. Like I had Paddock, Scherzer, Clevenger, Kershaw, Karinchak, Diaz, Ozuna. A lot of the guys are injured or just not performing as well. So
we might have to just dedicate a show. I'm pretty sure a lot of the guys are not taking it seriously, but we probably should dedicate a segment to them the newbie league one of these days. And
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I cut Kiner Falefa because even though he was getting the stolen bases, he's really killing me everywhere else. So, and I end up getting, if I can find him, Austin Nola, who has been like my Band-Aid to my catching problems all season long in all three of my teams. So Austin Nola is surprisingly still available. I don't know why people don't believe in Nola. I know that he's not the sexiest of people out there, but you know what? He plays every day. He's somewhat consistent for the position. Any qualms against Austin Nola that you have over there?
Not necessarily. I want to say it was Nola for that. Nola or Dylan Moore, one of the two guys for them that was hitting pretty well, but it was like all against fastballs. And it was just, I'm waiting for the league or for the pitchers to just like stop throwing him fastballs. I can't remember if it was him or Moore, but two guys for that Seattle team that were kind of surprisingly hitting well.
I mean, he look at this. Very patient hitter, Austin Nola, 22.2% outside the strike zone swing.
Yeah, so I want to say it was Dylan Moore then, because Dylan Moore was swinging it a lot.
So, yeah, that's what I was thinking, too. I mean, it's 6.2 swinging strike rate. He doesn't swing at bad pitches, so it's not him. And all maintaining a 47.1 hard hit rate, which is the traditional Fangraphs number, 41.2 according to StatCast number. So he's out there. And in the ESPN, he's available in 50% of leagues or so. Yeah. I'm like, go pick him up.
Yeah, so and any catcher that's getting, everyday ABs is valuable. And I mean, as long as they're producing somewhat.
Chris Flores, who's been watching this episode this whole time, is mentioning that Joey Bart almost hit a home run last night. Is that true?
Yes. It was a double far down the left field line, I want to say. Like I said, all three of his hits, he's gone 3 for 7, and they've all been doubles. And he has a walk and 3 strikeouts. I think his thing is just going to be keeping the strikeouts in check. Yeah. He has a pretty compact swing. It's just a kind of a feel thing. I'm not sure how well he sees the ball, as it comes to the plate and whatnot.
I know Giants fans, I'm pretty sure when they see Joey Bart, they're already thinking we have our Buster Posey for the next 10 seasons.
It's not a fair thing. Posey, I think, was a much more cerebral hitter, even coming out of college. And, of course, we saw what he did his first 6-7 years in the league.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think Bart has more of that raw ability. It's just going to be mining it to get everything out of it.
And more excitingly for me is that we have a Simpsons reference in Major League Baseball, so that's always good. Anybody else on this list that kind of catches your eye? This is a really bad list, but it is what it is. We can only go with what's available out there. Anybody else?
I had a list of my own,
Okay.
and of all of the guys on yours, 2 of them appear on mine. One appears as I had several busts and a couple of breakouts, and one of my busts that I still have hope for is Danny Jansen, who is number 15 on your list. And he's been in a bit of a timeshare with Reese McGuire, Q Michael Jackson's Beat It. But Danny Jansen, he was very much a big hyped guy going into the 2019 season. Plus plate discipline, good line drive hitter with burgeoning power, the power you could kind of squint and see it coming. And it just kind of fell flat on his face. Still played a good amount of games, and this year he's batting under 200, which isn't great, but he's posting a pretty robust 16.2 walk percentage, and I can see that the plate discipline is starting to show, so maybe the batting average is just going to be slightly behind it. Him and McGuire seem to be in a pretty even cut for playing time, though, so if he can get hot, if he's available, I would look into having him. And one more guy, also at number 12 on your list now, is also my bust that I still have hope for, and that's Carson Kelly. Once again, Arizona has like 3 different catchers that they're rotating between. Carson Kelly's not hitting the ball with as much authority as he did, and is therefore not getting as much playing time. So I'm a little worried about him. If I had him in a league, I would be tempted to drop him.
I already did.
I would be tempted to drop him for someone that's performing a little bit better. Someone like a Chance Sisco, who highlights my breakout list for catchers. I'm a sucker for left-handed hitters. Felipe knows this. Chance Sisco is a former top 100, top 50 prospect from 2016 and 17. Always flashed a plus hit tool with solid strikeout and walk numbers in the minors. And then through his first 138 games over 17, 18, and 19, had a K percentage well over 30%. And this year, he actually has the highest weighted runs created plus of any catcher, minimum 50 plate appearances at 180, which is his 268, 434, 610 slash line. It does come with a small caveat. His BABIP is well over as like 415. It's a little over 400. And his exit velos aren't crazy high. But the thing that is kind of helping him even more is the walk rate. The strikeout rate is still close to 30% or right around 30%. The swinging strike is still about 14%, which is his career norm. But right now, he seems to be figuring it out somewhat. And with a catcher like that, who always had a good hit tool in the minors, I think it's a good idea to pay attention to it. So I added him in our Fantrax league. He's splitting time with Pedro Severino, who's also having a really hot start. But I don't really buy into Severino like I buy into Chance Sisco. So,
yeah, and that's why I didn't have neither of those guys on my list, because I thought that Severino was just taking over the entire timeshare, and Sisco was only appearing every once in a while. But after I uploaded this spreadsheet, I realized that that's not the case. And I think you even called it out, saying that, well, Severino and Sisco are kind of like sharing time at catcher and DH.
Yeah. So, when one of them's catching, the other's usually DHing.
So, yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. I do apologize for that. But, yeah, those are really nice. I don't know if Severino – I mean, I checked ESPN. Severino's owning like 90% of leagues.
Yeah, Severino's gotten off. His numbers are a little bit more eye-popping. He's batting over 300. So I think a lot of people just kind of gravitated to that. But Sisco, if you're in an OBP league, is definitely, I think, this better play. In a points league, his strikeouts would worry me, so I'd kind of stay away from him. But I really do like Sisco. Like I said, I'm a sucker for left-handed hitters. And then one guy who I think was on your list, Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's. Yes. He is what I'm calling this year's Carson Kelly. He's posting really solid exit velo and hard hit percentages, 91st percentile in exit velo and 99th percentile in hard hit rate. Once again, a guy with really good prospect pedigree. And while his batting average wasn't showing it the first couple of weeks, it's really started to turn around. I want to say he's batting over 300 in the last week or so. And he has the full-time gig in Oakland, which is turning out to be a pretty potent offense. Granted, he is at the bottom of it. I like how he's doing. Trying to find his last week or so of games. Yeah, he's recorded a base hit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of his last 11 games, he's recorded a base hit. His strikeouts to walks are just about even over that time period. He's raised his batting average from 143 at the beginning of the month to 232, and he has almost 370 on base. So definitely a guy who, if by some chance he is still available, snatch him up right now.
Yeah, because he was on my list. I believe he was like top 6, top 7 in my catching list, and I was kind of shocked to see his name pop up in one of my leagues as someone that's available. But right now in my points league, I dropped Austin Nola after I just told everybody to go pick up Austin Nola. But I recently dropped Nola and picked up Travis d'Arnaud because he is just lighting up the baseball. But that was last week, and I think that's where I saw Sean Murphy available. So if all else fails, I know that Sean Murphy's in my back pocket.
Yeah.
He came in very highly anticipated for me. Carson Kelly, you mentioned. No, I gave up on him. I know he's very intriguing to have because, like you mentioned, all of his batted ball data shows that he's a guy who just hits the ball with authority, and for some reason, it's just not translating to fantasy.
And I think it's one of those things where I am worried about him, but I can't give up on him simply because this is such a wacky season that I don't think I'm going to give up on anyone. On the same flip side, I'm not going to buy into anyone solely because of the numbers they're putting up right now.
Yeah. Well, in terms of d'Arnaud, he did the same thing late last season. I remember picking him up late last year, and
Travis d'Arnaud is another guy who, one of the better performing catchers so far. I'm happy for him as a longtime Mets fan and Mets player. He kind of got ran out of town. I'll never forget it. The game before he got DFA'd, he allowed, him and the pitchers, it was mainly the pitchers. He was just coming back from Tommy John surgery, and I believe it was the Braves ran absolutely wild on him and had 5 stolen bases against him. And they interviewed him at his locker, and he looked lost.
Oh, man.
And, of course, he had that great second half with Tampa, showed the power that we always knew he had, and is really getting the lion's share of the catching, I think, him and Tyler Flowers in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I double-checked for that, too. What's the time split there? And it looked like d'Arnaud was getting the majority of the timeshare. So, all right, well, if that's the case, I'm going after him. I also sorted this by age because it's funny that you mentioned d'Arnaud, a long-time prospect, a hot-shot prospect, catcher from the Blue Jays and the Mets, and you mentioned that
people forget he was like a top 8, top 10 MLB prospect overall.
I mean, people were just really in love with this kid, and then just it didn't work out for whatever reason. But we talked about this in podcast episodes before, where it seems like for the catching position, you almost got to wait until they're like 30, 31, 32 years old. Like d'Arnaud, he's just turned 30.
They have to juggle so much. Aside from hitting a baseball, which is, insanely difficult, because a lot of these teams, they're not going to play you regularly until they know that you can handle the pitchers and handle a pitching staff, unless your bat is just like some sort of next level. And so it takes a while. Yeah, Joey Bart and the Adley Rutschmans, who hasn't debuted yet. I know that the Orioles GM had said that Adley Rutschman could make his debut this year if Baltimore was in the playoff hunt. But the thing is, if Chance Sisco and Pedro Severino, who are 2 of the best hitters on that team right now, are hitting, then where's Rutschman going to play? So I doubt we see him. I doubt we see him this year.
But it seems like you almost got to wait for them to turn 29, 30, 31 years old to see them hit their stride. I mean, Yadier Molina at 37 is still a top 10 catcher in fantasy. He just came back from COVID. Jason Castro, who I picked up in the Fantrax league that we just talked about, he was the best of the bunch. It's a very thin waiver wire because it's a very deep league, but his WRC is plus is over 100. Very patient hitter. That's always been his MO. He's always been a very patient hitter. Even when he was with the Twins, the Astros. Oh, well, they cheat over in Houston, whatever. But this is a little bit worrisome, that 15.4% swinging strike rate, but that's fine because it gets offset by a 66.7 hard hit rate and a 92 mile per hour exit velocity. So the only thing I don't like about Jason Castro is that he seems to always have to share time with others for whatever reason. But it seems like he's hitting his stride at the age of 33 with hitting the ball with authority. So I'm excited. I've always liked the guy. I just don't. The same thing with not as much as Darno, but he was also a highly touted prospect from the Houston Astros organization, and it just didn't work out for him in Houston. It kind of worked out in Minnesota, but not really. And now I'm hoping that he gets the majority. And
I started off with him. He was a catcher that I drafted or picked up right off of waivers at the very beginning. And it's, well, like I said, I'm a sucker for left-handed hitters with plus walk rates. Mm-hmm. And he had a nice little start that I rode, and then he started he went down with an injury or two. The Angels catching situation has been real weird. Castro's been injured a little bit. Stassi's been injured a little bit. And then Ben Boom has one of the wackiest last names ever. He was playing a few games, so they're really playing musical chairs at that catcher position.
You mean it's wackier than the Key Booms?
Key Booms, Ben Boom and Key Boom.
Carter and his brother was also a catching prospect, and the name escapes me. Right? Is that
Carter's the top catching prospect for the Nationals? Right? Okay. Yeah, infielder. But he had a brother. His brother was a catcher, Spencer Key Boom.
No. Carter plays infield, and Spencer plays catcher.
As a catcher, yeah.
But no, I mean that's the thing with the 33-year-old catchers is, I mean, Jason Castro was out of the lineup for a long time because of back problems, so that's something else you got to worry about. But hopefully he pays dividends for me. As like I said, not all of these guys were available in that Fantrax league. I mean, Tony Walters is available everywhere. Do I want, even though he plays for the Rockies? Do I really want to deal with Tony Walters? Slide
across. Do you have WRC plus on your spreadsheet?
Yeah, of course.
You're gonna crack up when you see his WRC plus.
I think last I checked it was like at 6.
0.
0. Wow. Bad. And this is a guy that gets regular at-bats, plate appearances for the Rockies because I don't know why.
60 plate appearances, and he has a 0 WRC plus.
That's awful. But
poor guy.
If 2020 was a catcher, he'd be Tony Walters. But that's it for catchers, unless you got anybody else to mention.
No, that's it. Like I said, be aggressive on the waiver wires. If you see any of those guys that we just talked about, if they're available, I would go get them. Especially if the guys you have are injured, not producing. If you have like a Mitch Garver, I wouldn't go dropping Mitch Garver just yet, even though his 40% strikeout rate is pretty worrisome. I would hope you have a worse player to drop, but you would definitely need a replacement for him now that he's on the IL, or someone like Gary Sanchez who you might want to sit and put somebody else in.
And you guys are now looking at the relief pitching. That's our last topic conversation. Really quick, funny story. Our guy, Matt Bushnell, as we try to do some cross-promotion here, the Football Life presents the Audible over at Football Life with Randy Hammond. They do a football podcast over there. Kind of the same format that we're doing it right now, if you guys are not aware. He just dropped Mitch Garver. He finally gave up on him. I forgot who he picked up in our points league, but he dropped him, and as he just had enough of him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny that Garver was a top 5 catcher to start the season, and now you're suggesting that it might be time to cut him at this point. At any rate, that's the life. What are we doing here? You know what? I made a boo-boo here. This is Taylor Rogers of the Twins. I meant to type in his brother.
Tyler Rogers?
Yeah.
Or Trevor Rogers.
Trevor May, Trevor Rogers. I don't even know.
There's a lot of them. That's very confusing.
I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Because Rogers from the San Francisco Giants was among the league leaders in holds in our Fantrax league in terms of the waiver wire. And I meant to put his name, and instead I put the Twins closer, which –
yes.
Yeah, he should not be available. But you know who might be available is Taylor Williams. It seems like every week we're talking about Taylor Williams. Hey, you need saves. That's the guy to get.
And it seems like every week the Mariners have a new saves guy that I need to go add. last year it's like Austin Adams and Eric Swanson, and now we have Taylor Williams, who actually, compared to the other guys, I do think shows some legitimate promise. Really good slider coming out of the Brewers system, and of course, the Brewers have developed several good relief pitchers over the years. Slightly breaking news that the San Francisco Giants just DFA'd Hunter Pence. That's a sad ending to a long-standing career in a city.
All good things come to an end, man.
Yeah. Especially after he was an all-star last year. So he was really struggling batting under 100. But, Taylor Williams looks pretty good. I want to say he's a big-time slider guy. It's him and the guy that's pitching for Milwaukee right now as well. Not Josh Hader. It's the Milwaukee reliever. That's not Josh. Devin Williams. I had his name written down and I don't have it anymore.
Well, I look for the name. I just want to mention some red flags with Taylor Williams, which would explain why he's still available. I mean, it's a 56% hard hit rate, traditionally from Fantrax, and it's a little bit better on the StatCast number, 40%. Still pretty darn high. 12% barrel rate against. So, 91.1 mile per hour exit velocity. So he throws hard at 94.8 miles an hour on that fastball. Although, like you mentioned, it might not be his primary pitch, but he also gets hit hard too. So that might be the reason why he's still available. It's one of the reasons I'm kind of reluctant to pick him up. But if you need saves, as long as he's the primary closer, the pickings are slim. As we mentioned in podcast episodes before, relief pitcher is going to be such a headache to deal with. So when you can get one a legit closer that's going to be guaranteed the ninth inning spot, you go out and grab him.
Yeah, this is a guy, Devin Williams is the other guy, but Taylor Williams is the guy we're talking about right here. Yep. And he is a guy who underwent a massive pitch mix change. Last year in 2019 when he was with the Brewers, he threw his fastball over 60% of the time and his slider only 31% of the time. And his fastball just got eaten up. They batted .450 against it with a .550 slugging. And his slider, though, which he was only throwing 30% of the time, was a great pitch. They batted under 170 and had a 50% whiff rate. And so this year he did the whole Patrick Corbin and is now throwing his slider 55% of the time. That's an increase of 20%. They're whiffing 55% of the time on it and batting 125. So it's a legitimate, dominant pitch. The fastball, they're still batting about 290 on it. But like you said, he has pretty good velocity on it. I want to say the spin rate's about average, but when he does get hit hard. And when I think of someone like that, I think of someone who is on your list who is one of my favorites, and that is Josh Staumont for the Royals. He is number 15, and he is the epitome of that. I want to say he's in like the first percentile of exit velocity against. He's in the first percentile, in 19th percentile in hard hit rate. But in his expected WOBA, expected ERA, expected batting average, all of that, he's 90% or greater, and he's 98% or greater in expected batting average, K percentage, and whiff percentage. He is striking everybody out. He has one of those, when you see a relief pitcher who comes in, throws like 100 miles an hour, and you're like, this guy has the goods. This guy is an elite level closer. That's Josh Staumont. He had always had really bad walk issues in the minors, and he came into spring training this year, and I noticed it because I happened to watch a game, and he struck out 3 guys on like 10 pitches, and he was just like throwing 100 miles an hour, and he had never hit that. He used to sit 94, 95, and now he's averaging 98.5 and hitting 100 consistently. And it's just an unhittable pitch. He has a curveball that has a 68.2% whiff rate. And when I see a fastball curveball combo like that, I think of my other favorite relief pitcher who everyone is finally getting to know. I've been touting him for about a year now, and that's James Karinchak. These two guys just have that dominant fastball curveball combo that you love to see in an elite relief pitcher. And they both have elite level strikeout rates because of it.
and he probably 59.8% contact rate. It's like he's literally unhittable.
Yeah.
And he also made headwind because John Boy mentioned him this past year.
Yes, he was the one who had the fastball that was basically down the middle, and the umpire called it a ball. It was 100 miles an hour. It was a little high, but it was well within the K zone, and the umpire called it a ball. And it's like you saw the catcher do like a double take. He was like, wait, what? And he kind of like turned around. He didn't say anything. But, yeah, Josh Stalmont went viral because of that. But he should also be going viral for that 46.9 strikeout percentage. The man is dominant. And the main reason I like him is that Trevor Rosenthal is second in the league in saves. He has or he's tied for third with 6.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a legitimate trade piece that the Royals could move to a contender. And if Trevor Rosenthal gets traded to a contender, Josh Stalmont has to be the closer in waiting for the Kansas City Royals. And he's going to be one of those late season saves targets that if you're losing saves every week down the stretch, he could be the guy that you target and pick up now. That way you aren't losing saves later.
Yeah, and most importantly, if you're in a holds league, you should already be picking him up because he is already has 4 holds and that ridiculously high strikeout rate. I mean, getting back to the saves though, can we talk about Ryan Presley really quick?
Yes.
It seems like he's finally back from injury and looks like he got some saves this past week. Is that the case?
Yes.
So, yeah, this was supposed to be the heir apparent to Roberto Osuna, and then he got hurt. But he's always been that guy that, man, if the Astros can just find space for him to be the 9th inning guy, this guy could be a legit closer in fantasy. And is he finally getting to that point, or is he still?
He was one of those guys. He's not as dominant as he's been the last year and a half, but he was once again one of those, Houston trades for a start or trades for a pitcher, and then essentially overnight he's insanely good. And, of course, Trevor Bauer has his own opinions on why they seem to do so well. But I think Ryan Presley had a legitimate weapon in Minnesota, and they hadn't capitalized on it yet like they're doing now with some of their relief pitchers like Matt Whistler, who's throwing his slider 84% of the time or 80% of the time. Like, it's insane. If they had had the same guys then that they do now with Presley, I think Presley could be that guy in Minnesota. That being said, now that he finally has the 9th inning, he's dealt with injuries, and he's 31. He's a little bit older. I'm slightly worried about him. I used to be high on him, but now I'm kind of worried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's
What's the concern there?
I just think it's one of those. He's never been a 9th inning guy, and I don't want to make it sound like it's a mental thing with him, but it's the peripherals aren't that great this year, and I think he's pitching hurt. I mean, he's already dealt with a couple of injuries this year, and I just don't feel like he's 100%. But he realizes that the team needs him.
Mm-hmm.
With Ozuna out and just that bullpen in a constant state of flux. I mean, right now he's pitched 7 2/3 innings and has a 1.96 whip. That's not good.
No, I had him in my points league to start the year off, and it was such a disaster. And then he got hurt, and I never looked back. But I saw that he's still available in that points league, and he's
lost about a tick on the fastball from 95.5 miles an hour to 94.5, and hitters are batting .430 against it, and they're batting over .300 against his slider, which last year they batted .176.
So beware of Ryan Presley.
Yeah. He's definitely got the high upside of being a closer on one of the best teams in baseball, but it's like I'm worried.
What about these guys that I just highlighted here? Brandon Kinsler, Trevor Gott. Well, not Sergio Romo because he's not a real closer. He's just there every once in a while. But what about these two guys, Brandon Kinsler and Trevor Gott?
I don't want either of those guys. Trevor Gott just got lit up like 4 outings in a row. I feel so bad for the guy because he had 2 blow-up outings, and then Gabe Kapler was like, yep, you're good to go. Go back out there. And it was so funny because so many people had went and picked him up because he had 4 early saves. And then he goes out there, and as Keith Hernandez said, got his tits lit. And it was just brutal. And he just kept giving up home run after home run. Yeah, he's got the 7.36 home run per 9 after this last week. It was just a brutal week for him. Brandon Kinsler doesn't move the needle for me. Sergio Romo, I still love. Sergio Romo is out there throwing frisbee sliders. He's going to do it till he's 50, and I would 100% be okay with it. And I do think he's going to hawk more saves because he already has 3.
Yeah.
As well as how many holds? I just had it pulled up.
I got you, man. He has 6 holds.
Yeah, already. 6 holds. If you're in a league that does saves plus holds, that's a quality relief pitcher that you need to be starting. And the main reason I like him and why I like his ability to steal saves is that the main closer in Minnesota is a left-hander.
Yeah.
And Rocco Baldelli's already talked about that when they're facing a lineup who in the 9th inning is predominantly right-handed, he might go to Romo instead of May. Is May the lefty or is Rogers the lefty? I always forget.
Rogers is the lefty. That's the reason I've always been.
May's been the fireman and Rogers has been the closer. Mainly.
Yeah, that's why I'm always wary about picking up Taylor Rogers because he is left-handed, but he gets the 9th inning opportunities. But if it were up to me, I would have Trevor May as the closer. But this is a brand new we talk about it all the time. There's a brand new baseball, brand new world. Like you mentioned, the fireman, the best relief pitcher. It doesn't always mean that he's going to be the closer. It just means he might be needed in the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning. So,
yeah, this is what cracks me up about Sergio Romo. He's throwing that slider 71.6% of the time, and he's not even getting that many whiffs. He's getting 23.3% whiffs, but they're batting 105 against it and have only a 206 expected BA. And he hasn't given up a hit on his changeup. His changeup's getting 62% whiffs. He has thrown a grand total of 23 fastballs and sinkers and has only given up 1 hit. Like, it's insane. You showed his whip when you were scrolling by his name earlier. It's like 0.44.
Sergio Romo?
Yeah. Like I said, this is a guy I don't – in 2019, 99th percentile of exit velocity, 100 percentile of hard hit rate. They actually haven't updated his percentile rankings for 2020 yet. I don't know why. They should. He's been awesome.
All right. So, yeah, I like the Sergio Romo
selection there too. Choo-choo.
Let's switch it over to holds. Let's sort this by holds really quick. We got Evan Marshall, who's basically hawking, so to speak, all the holds that Aaron Bummer would get if he weren't injured. Anything to say about Evan Marshall for all the White Sox fans out there?
He was the one guy I actually left out among all of the guys that are tied for 6th or tied at 6 for holds, just because I think Evan Marshall's kind of a boring pitcher. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's his name's Evan Marshall and that just seems really boring. But at holds, you have Tyler Duffy. That's the other Minnesota guy, I believe.
Yes.
He has 8 holds. Tanner Rainey, who could be right now, he's getting Daniel Hudson is getting all the saves for Washington, but yes. Tanner Rainey has the Josh Stallman on him. He throws 100 miles an hour, great slider, some control issues. But right now he's getting a lot of the holds for him. And then tied at 6 are Jake Diekman, Sergio Romo, Justin Wilson, Emilio Pagan, Tyler Rogers, and Evan Marshall. And Yusmeiro Petit, I think, was one.
Yeah, the last 2 guys are right here next to each other. And again, odds are these guys would be available in your league. That's why the other names were not.
Justin
mentioned.
Wilson might be a name to keep tabs on. Yeah. Both him and Edwin Diaz, for those that don't know, the Mets plan to move Seth Lugo, who's been the bona fide closer, kind of. They're moving him to the rotation. So that's going to open up some save opportunities for guys like Justin Wilson, who the Mets really do seem to like.
Really quick, I just want to get back to Evan Marshall. 41.3 outside the strike zone swinging rate. That's pretty damn good. I think he gets to force hitters to chase for pitches that they shouldn't be swinging at. So that's a skill, I guess. 14% swinging strike rate, and he's done a pretty good job replacing Aaron Bummer. Like I said, he got hurt. 92.9 mile per hour. I believe Evan Marshall is a left-handed pitcher. I believe.
Yeah,
I might be wrong on that one.
Because this is, I feel I'm doing all of our listeners a disservice the fact that I did not look him up. Yeah, he's doing a good job missing barrels.
Yeah.
I couldn't have even – he throws a changeup a lot. That's what it is.
Okay.
He throws a changeup 40% of the time. and it's a pretty damn good pitch.
Yeah.
So that and his curve, yeah. He only throws the fastball sinker combined 30%, and his fastball gets absolutely shellacked.
Surviving on guile and craft.
Yep. So hey, he's Sergio Romo, except like 10 years younger.
And changeups.
Yeah.
You mentioned Justin Wilson, who, 21.7 hard hit rate. I mean, that's what we're looking for. But there's a lot of mixed reviews for him. I mean, the fastball's still up there. I don't know if he's still a fastball-only pitcher.
He throws a lot of cutters. Okay. He's basically turned it into a cutter. And a lot of the Mets we've started seeing, I think that's a thing that they started last year when they brought in their new pitching strategist. And then Jeremy Hefner, the new pitching coach, came in from the Twins organization. Wilson was throwing a cutter. Marcus Stroman, towards the end of last year, was throwing a cutter and was having really good success with it. This year, he's throwing the cutter 45% of the time so far. It's actually getting hit more than his fastball. His fastball last year was the worst pitch, and his cutter was great. This year, his fastball has been the plus pitch, and his cutter's been getting hit. So, growing pains, learning a new pitch, I guess.
All right, and I just remember that Leon and I talked about both Justin Wilson, Yusmeiro Petit. I give him some props for mentioning Justin Wilson as being a guy that he goes after because of the holds, because he knows as a left-handed pitcher,
he's always been a consistent holds guy.
He's going to get those opportunities. We already talked about Yusmeiro Petit a long time ago. There's no need to talk about him right now. 35 years old, you know what you're getting from him. Low strikeouts, low walks. I believe he also has a low whip. Yes, he does.
Yeah, he's one of those. He basically is solely good for holds and whip. He's not going to help you in Ks. His ERA is going to be so-so.
Yeah,
but he's like a really deep or AL only type relief pitcher.
Let's see. The guys with the 5 holds, just pick one name that you want to talk about here. Nick Whitgren, Craig Stammen, or TJ McFarland.
Do I have to?
Just pick one.
Yeah. Nick Whitgren, I would pick him. Indians, I like how they develop relief pitchers.
Actually,
and just pitchers in general.
I believe Whitgren came from the Padres organization, and he was involved in the Brad Hand. Is that, if I remember correctly?
I don't know.
Questioning myself.
Oh, no, he was Marlins traded to the
okay.
Indians. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I'm confusing players.
That was Adam Simber. It was Adam Simber and Brad Hand that got traded to Cleveland for Francisco Mejia. And Adam Simber is like the submariner who I'm not even sure if he's in baseball anymore.
All right, never mind about that. Sorry for the confusion. So, yeah, Nick Whitgren, a solid choice there if you can get it. 6.5. Strikeout per walk rate.
I'm looking at his numbers on Baseball Savant, and they're not exactly enthusiastic. It looks like he's pitching a little over his head, but who knows?
But, in terms of fantasy, that's good. But you got to be worried about the high contact rates. He does not induce a lot of swings. It's a little concerning, 10% barrel rate. But as long as he's getting the holds, you don't really care about other stuff until he stops not getting the holds if you're in a holds league. Matt Barnes, Richard Blyer, James Hoyt. You already mentioned Josh Stoutman, Tony Watson, Tyler Clippard. Any of these guys, aside from Matt Barnes, because he's going to be the guy
in Boston,
in Boston to get the save. So that's a cheap one, but he already blew a save. Role. And, of course, we talked about Josh Stoutman. Any of these guys intrigue you to be future potential closer?
I mean, I know I already talked about him, but Josh Stoutman, I'm just going to harp on. He's so good. And it was funny because I'm in that giant 30-team dynasty that I always reference, and he was available, and I waited until just about a week and a half ago to add him. And I was so worried that somebody was going to pick him up because I saw him in spring training, and, there were some news reports that were like, oh, here's this guy who used to average 95, and now he's averaging 198, 99. And it's just – he's got such a great arsenal for a starting pitcher. Even though when he does give up contact, it's very loud contact. But when I went back and I looked at all of the base hits he's given up so far this year, all but 2 of them came in 2-strike counts. So that's something that I look at and say, hey, maybe it just needs to be a pitch mix thing. It seems like he would get ahead and go to the curveball, and hitters know that when he's ahead, he likes to throw his curveball and would sit back on it. Even though it's a dominant pitch that generates whiffs over 60%, if a hitter's guessing for it, chances are they're going to be able to hit it. So I think he needs to do a little bit better of, keeping hitters off balance, kind of changing up the pitch mix. But his stuff is as good as anybody's in baseball.
I think the last guy I want to talk to about before we wrap it up here, James Hoyt. He kind of came out of nowhere for me. I wasn't expecting to find a James Hoyt that is among the league leaders in terms of the waiver wire in holds. 33-year-old, 38.5% strikeout rate. You have anything on the docket for James Hoyt?
Another one of those big-time slider guys, giving up a lot of loud contact, but he's whiffing, making a lot of generating a lot of whiffs. There we go. I couldn't get the phrase out. He's with the Marlins, correct? Yeah.
That's what it says here, yeah.
That entire bullpen right now is in flux. You never know. He's 33 years old. I'm not really sure if they're going to prioritize him over some of their other guys. You're not even sure if he's going to last when some of their guys come back from the COVID IL. So I would keep an eye on it. He's probably a deep league ad or an NL only, but someone to keep an eye on for sure. I wouldn't pull the trigger. I would keep an eye on him, though.
And if you're in a holds league, you might as well just go get him right now. I mean, the rate stats are just – and if you're in a categories league, the rate stats are just ridiculous with this guy.
Yeah.
38.5 strikeout rate, as mentioned, 3.9 walk rate, which equals to a 10 strikeout per walk ratio, 10 double-digit strikeout per walk ratio, so that's pretty damn good. All right. Anybody else you want to talk to about on this that we haven't talked about in white here?
The one that, and it relates to my fantasy, my 30 team, and I want to ask you a question, is these two relief pitchers were just released within the last few days, and I went and I picked both of them up, dropping a couple of prospects to do so, even though my team is stacked at relief pitcher. I have Edwin Diaz, all these guys that I've told you, Edwin Diaz, James Karinchak, Sergio Romo, Josh Stallman. I have all of these guys. I'm absolutely loaded at RP. But these are two older, former relief aces that were dropped in a league where over 1,000 men are rostered. Andrew Miller and Adam Ottavino were both released. And I picked both of them up because I still think that there is a upside play. Andrew Miller, so far, if you look at him, he has a ERA over 5.5 and a WHIP over 2. But if you look at his Baseball Savant page, 84th percentile in hard hit percentage, 96th percentile in expected WOBA, 96th percentile in expected ERA. His expected ERA is 2.81, which is almost 3 runs less than his actual ERA. His fastball's barely cracking 90. It's down to 90.5. But the slider, which has always been the go-to, he's actually had some bad luck on it. It has a 159 expected batting average, and they're actually hitting 286 against it. And I need to have someone come off my roster. I have to release someone with Yandy Diaz. I thought he was going to be missing more time than he is. And I don't know if I should release one of those two guys. Ottavino is – Chapman is back. Britton's about to go on the IL. Britton, of course, is second in the league in saves so far. But with Chapman back and Britton going on the IL, it seems that Chapman's going to get most of the saves. Ottavino only has 10 strikeouts over 9 innings, which is unlike him. He's usually an elite strikeout guy. Should I drop Adam Ottavino? Am I just crazy here? Or should I drop Andrew Miller?
Oh, boy.
I also have J. Reese Familia, who I think both of those guys could potentially be better than Familia. But
yeah, this is a tough one because my first inkling is maybe you should just drop Miller, but he's getting some opportunities right now. Because
that bullpen for them is like they don't know. He picked up a couple of saves recently. So that's the one thing is the reason I'm keeping both him and Ottavino around is if they pick up some saves, then they might be of some use.
Yeah, same thing with Ottavino. I've always liked Ottavino. I'm a big fan of his, but I just don't like the opportunities he's been getting. But that seems to be the theme for today. Is that's another one of those guys who just loves to throw those breaking pitches, and he gets encouraged to throw those breaking pitches at a very liberal rate. So, I guess Andrew Miller too. But I do like Ottavino slightly more than I do Miller at this point.
I agree.
But I don't have the stats to look up. I'm kind of just looking it up right now as we're talking. But yeah, I mean the K per 9 is a little.
Miller's just been so bad the last few years that maybe I'm thinking that his baseball savant, his metrics right now are just small sample size. But it's like
all gonna be small sample size, man.
Yeah, and when you look at his ERAs over the last 3 years, they've been over 4, but he's still shown a batting average against have all been pretty low. So I don't know. I think it's just the fastball with him is just so gone that they're just sitting on it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like he's too good to just release. But I'm stacked at relief pitcher, and we only have 4 RP slots in a daily format. So I do my best to kind of rotate him in and guess who's going to be used. But I thought Andrew Miller, that was kind of the conundrum I'm in that I would share.
Yeah, and they're pretty much have the same plate discipline profile, where Andrew Miller's at 27.9 outside the strike zone swing rate. Ottavino is at 22.9, and it's just been dropping since 2015 below 30%. So it's like something's off about him. I thought he was doing a lot better than that. Only an 8.2 swinging strike rate, according to Fantrax.
And that's with Miller?
No, that's with Ottavino.
Oh.
I'm actually going to put it right there. Oops. While Miller is at 11.5. That's not a good number. 8.2 there. So, yeah, it's a lot very concerning with Ottavino. I thought he was doing better because I know that he's like a big slider guy. And
the strikeouts are just – I mean, he was a guy who the strikeouts were always, his big thing, and now it's 10 and 9 innings. I mean, this is a guy who his last year in Colorado – in 77 innings, struck out 112 guys. So
yeah, maybe the thin air was helping him.
And last year in with the Yankees, his first year, he really skated around a lot of luck. He had a 1.3 whip, which is, bordering on not good. And he had a 1.9 ERA. He had 88 strikeouts in 66 innings, but he had 40 walks and 47 hits. Walks have always been an issue with him. And I think I'm talking myself out of Ottavino right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to drop it. Just as I say that, trying to look at his splits because Miller seems to just be getting crushed by right-handed pitchers right now, where that slider is a bit neutralized.
And that's something else while you look that up. One positive about Ottavino is that he only has an 85.8 mile per hour exit velocity. Whereas Miller is at 90.6. So it's like it's tough. I mean, it's a really tough look.
They both have platoon issues. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll make a decision.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't be much help. I was not expecting Adam Ottavino to be into the mix, but no, he's not been doing very well.
And he's a guy that could turn it on at any second, and if Aroldis Chapman has some injuries coming back, and Zach Britton, of course, is I think getting an MRI or was supposed to be getting an MRI, then Adam Ottavino is kind of the ideal decision for saves, in which case he becomes much more valuable.
You would think that for sure, but so far no saves. And
no save so far, but
one blown save. So
his path there seems slightly easier.
Yeah, that's true. But right now, with the Cardinals bullpen the way it is, it seems like Miller's already there. So, but if you're looking for long term, maybe you want to get Ottavino. But we all know who the main closer for the Yankees is, no matter what.
Yeah,
with the Cardinals, we don't know. It could be Gallegos. It could be.
John Gant has looked very good as well. John Gant, another guy that we probably should have mentioned on this list. Peripherals are off the charts. He had a great first half in 2019 before falling off. So be sure to go check out him.
All right. And that's a good place to stop.
I think so.
Any last words from you?
No, that's I'm glad you guys were able to come catch some fantasy baseball talk with us. I'm glad I was able to move the Josh Stalmont hype train along, and I'm glad I was able to put the entire Fantrax league on notice That way they could see that I'm 6-1-1 and that they're just staring up at me on top of the hill right now.
For now, I mean,
For now.
for now.
Let's hope I don't have another 7 or 10 ERA week.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just waiting for you to get hit by the injury bug, or for variance, or not variance, the other one. I guess it would be variance for variance to catch up to you, and what was going well for you will start going bad for you, and then I just kind of like sneak in and take back what's mine, which is being at the top of the leaderboard, as I'm slowly but surely climbing up and trying to catch up to you. But we'll see what happens next week. It's been fun, and that, like I said, good luck to everybody this week.
Yeah, thank you guys. And if you missed us on Facebook, you can catch the video over at YouTube. It'll also audio only be posted via Anchor to all of your favorite streaming sites, Spotify, Apple Music, and Stitcher. So you can catch the audio version there as well.
Yeah,
and
give us a follow, man.
What was that?
Give us a follow.
Yeah, give us a follow.
Give us a follow.
Yeah, some follows, comments, whatever you want. Good, bad, we'll take it. Hopefully we covered all the bases for you guys today, and we'll see you next week.